You're open.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. I'd like to call the Accessibility Committee meeting of March 25th, 2026 to order. We do have a quorum from our committee, so we will proceed. Thank goodness we're getting a little bit warmer weather for making it a little easier for people to get out and about. We're joined today not only by our committee members, but three of our staff. We've got Allison Penner, who is our deputy clerk, and Derek Bruce, our legislative services coordinator, and Holly Moroney, who is manager of communications. Is that correct, Holly?
And customer
And of
service.
course, we have Mr. Bill in the back corner of it. So anyway, we'll begin our meeting with a moment of reflection. If you'll join me. Thank you. Is there anyone who would like to disclose a pecuniary interest at this time? If something should arise throughout the meeting, just announce it at that time. Thank you. We'll jump to number 4 on our agenda, dealing with public participation. Members of the public are encouraged to provide the committee with their comments and questions. Presentations must be prearranged with legislative services before the agenda is released. Members of the public who wish to make a deputation about a specific agenda item at the meeting must also register in advance with the Legislative Services Coordinator by 4 p.m. on March 24th or the day before the meeting. And you can contact D. Bruce at meaford.ca or 519-538-1060, extension 112. 111. Yeah, 3 1s and 1 2. Presentations are limited to 10 minutes and deputations are limited to 5 minutes. By the looks of things, we have no presentations today, and I'll ask Allison, do we have any deputations? Okay, thank you for that. So we'll jump to number 5, that being the approval of minutes from back in January 28th. We were absent, Stewart and Sherman at that meeting, and we missed you. But we did go ahead. We did have some presentations, and I know Allison has sent out the minutes. So you've all had a chance to look at them. Before we go any further, could I get a mover and a seconder for the minutes? Thank you, Mary, and Sherman. Thank you. Any discussion about the minutes? Any questions or comments? Okay, hearing nothing, I'll ask for your vote. All those in favor of approval of the minutes. Thank you so much. That's passed unanimously. And we'll jump to number 6. And we have an item here, an item for consideration, the website accessibility-based design. And I think Ms. Maroney is going to help us with this, but before we get into it, we do have a recommendation that the Accessibility Advisory Committee supports the proposed mobile and accessible focused website design as presented. So can I get a mover and seconder to get things rolling here? Mary, thank you. Sherman, thank you. Okay. Holly, if you would, you go right ahead. And I think we're going to be joined by another special guest too, are we not? Okay, up
We
to you.
are. Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. Um, Again, for everyone tuning in online, my name is Holly Maroney. I'm the manager of communications and customer service with the municipality, and today we will be joined by two of our consultants from Tenzing Communications. So we have Jeremy Groot and Maggie Cameron. So today we're bringing forward, and you would have seen in the agenda package, the approach that we've taken in designing a website that is focused on mobile and focused on making sure that it's accessible for our community. So I'll just touch on quickly the objectives for today's meeting and what we're looking to get out of it as we move forward and bring this to council next week. And then I'll talk about how we'll progress through today's meeting and what that flow will look like, when you'll hear from myself, when you'll hear from the Tenzing team. So first off, I'm looking to present and gather feedback on our accessibility approach and make sure that the committee finds that clear. If you do have any questions at any time, please feel free to speak up, and I'd be happy to provide any clarification to make sure that that's more clear for the committee and for the community. My secondary objective is to present and gather feedback on our website design. So you would have seen a black and white version. In the industry term is to refer to it as a wireframe, and that is a skeleton of what the website looks like as we work through the design process. So I'm looking to gather feedback on certain elements of that and whether something would work or not work, or ultimately I'll be presenting two different options and different layouts, and the committee, should they feel passionate about one of the options, just through informal discussion, can state that they have a preference for design A or design B. One update, and we have received the clerk's department support, is I'm able to show you a more vivid version, an updated version from the wireframe. So we'll be able to see things in a bit more color and with a little more detail before council. We'll see that on Monday. So those are the objectives. In terms of the flow, so what I'm going to do is just bring you up to speed with where we are in the website project and how we got here. And then I'll invite our consultant at Tenzing to give us an overview of our accessibility approach, and they'll walk through the presentation that was included as part of the agenda package. And then we will look at some different design options, and I'll look for some committee feedback at that point. So if there are no questions with any of that or objectives or the flow of our meeting today from the committee, I'm happy to proceed. So you would have seen in the report that we started this website project quite a while ago. So late summer, early fall, we received notification from our current website provider noting that our website platform is reaching end of life. So currently we use a platform that is proprietary to a certain organization. So they hold all of those contents, and it's a unique system in which it's set up on the back end. So we don't have the ability to just say, okay, you're not offering this anymore, we'll take it and we'll just get someone else to do it. We have to go through the process of completely redesigning the website to be able to make it sustainable into the future and scalable to the future needs of the municipality. So last fall, I worked with the team, and I worked with in making presentations to council to get support to put out a request for a proposal for a new website. So that process was extremely extensive. It was a competitive process, and we received interest from, I believe, 24 or 28 companies that were willing to do this work for us, and most of them were qualified. So we went through that proposal process and we ranked them all. It was a sealed process, so we were really focused on them meeting what we were looking for in a website before we explored the cost element of it, because we didn't want cost to be the only factor that we considered in looking at what is an extremely useful source of information for our community, and ultimately one of our primary tools to hold information for them. So through that process, we were able to get support to move forward with Tenzing Communications just before the Christmas holiday on the 15th of December, which allowed us to hit the ground running in January, and we've been busy working with Tenzing Communications ever since. So currently, our website reaches the end of life in July of 2026, and some of our support today on our website is limited. We have support for if our website were to have a major bug or to crash, but today we aren't able to make the nice to have changes that we would have once we get a new website and we're back up and running. An important note that I want to highlight in the report, and it's included in the recommendation here, is that more than 60% of our visitors access the website on mobile. So that is a significant change in designing the website. We really wanted to focus on that 60% and a lot of our visitors accessing the website not through the desktop and how we as staff may reference the website, but we're wanting to make sure that our end product works for our intended audiences. So 60% accessing on mobile, followed by 34% approximately on a desktop, and just below 6% of people are accessing our website on a tablet. And I will just touch on a couple of the different requirements that we included as part of that request for proposal in terms of things that we were looking at from a qualitative perspective. So we were wanting to make sure that we had a responsive design, that it was able to bend and flex and be able to be viewed at an optimized perspective on mobile. We wanted to ensure that it represented our brand and really felt like something that the municipality of Meaford would be proud to display to the community. Through this process, we've also updated the sitemap. So currently, upon some of the audit of our current website, things may not be put in the perfect or the most intuitive places for people to be able to find. And our search function isn't optimized. So those are two significant areas of improvement that we focused on with this new website. So you'll see that through the sitemap, and we'll touch on it briefly today, that we've tried to put things in the perspective of how would a resident or how would a business owner or how would a visitor in our community, how would they potentially be looking for this information and what makes the most sense to them compared to maybe as staff, how does this fit within our current organizational structure and who reports to who? So it would belong under that bucket. Then we're focused on navigation and accessibility. So Jeremy will be able to better speak to it. But in our requirements, we did include that the website had to be AODA compliant, as well as WCAG, so that's Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, and to meet a level 2.2 AA. I touched on briefly some of that search functionality, and currently we are aware that it is not working. So that's a big improvement that we'll see in our new website. So we're looking to implement an AI-driven search system while also managing the risk or choosing a tool that doesn't expose us and isn't an open source AI tool and gives people incorrect information. This website will also have a very robust backend in terms of different documents. So that could look like if someone is searching for an application for something or a detail like what street can I park on that would come from our parking bylaw, you'll be able to type these things into the search function of our website and not have to comb through pages and pages of search results. You'll be able to find the information that's most relevant to that search right at the top. We're going to be making our news and notices hub extremely prominent on the website, and people will be able to subscribe for those updates. Some of these are newsworthy, public relations related announcements of things like a land purchase that we did later last year, but they also could be more operational things like a road being closed for a community special event or due to significant weather or things like that. So we're making sure that the community can find that information in a timely manner. I think that we all know and we can agree that we would not be who we are without our community and our volunteers. So we know that the community calendar is a big part of this piece of work, and we want to make sure that that works not only for staff but for members of the community to upload their different events, for people to stay up to date with changes on those events, and to be able to filter through and stay most up to date on what's happening within the community. So we'll see that through a shared community calendar across the library, the museum, and the hall. And I actually did skip over this at the beginning, but just for clarity, the scope of this website is not just the Meaford.ca municipal website. This does include the Meaford Hall website, the Meaford Museum website, and the Meaford Public Library. So we're taking that holistic approach as we look forward to the development and to the launch of this website.
Thanks, Holly. If don't mean to interrupt, but
Of
I'm
course.
just wondering that was quite a list, and I just wondered if any of the committee members had any questions about uh, any of the bullet points there. This is quite quite a number of things to include,
It was quite
and
the wish list.
they all certainly important. The news and notices hub, the community calendar, the business directory, emergency announcements. We hope there aren't very many of them, but uh, I know many people turn to the municipality if there is word of some type of emergency, and the sooner some kind of a declaration can be made, and the more information that can be given, it's appreciated. So, okay, if there's nothing, I'll you continue.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Touching on the emergency announcement, so that's one big improvement also that we'll see on this website. Currently, we have a pop-up, which may not be the best experience working across different devices, or may not all of our website visitors may be able to interact with that pop-up solution. So on the new website, we'll see a colored banner at the top where people will prominently see those really time-sensitive emergency updates to make sure that they're staying up to date with those. So at this point, if the committee doesn't have any questions, I'm happy to pass it over to Tenzing Communications, our website consultant. So I will just open up their presentation here. And if Jeremy, you can take yourself off of mute so we can hear you.
Okay. Hi, can you hear me?
We can, yes, thank
Yes,
you.
yes, go ahead, go right ahead.
Okay. So, hi, I'm Jeremy Groot. I'm the Director of Digital for Tenzing Communications, and I lead the development, testing, and deployment phases of the website. I'll walk you through this presentation that we prepared for you for all the information and procedures for building an accessible meaford.ca website. So here we go. So here we go. As a walkthrough of our standards approach and how accessibility will be built in and verified. So this is basically the overview of the presentation that we're about to walk through with you. So the compliance standards and targets will cover the role clarity, the accessibility approach as a life cycle, any widgets and tools that we're going to use, testing, launch, and ongoing compliance. And as we walk through this presentation, I'm going to pause after a certain amount of slides and open it up to questions for anyone. So I'll just let you know when that happens. And yeah, I think we're good to proceed here. So where we are in the project timeline. So right now we're polishing up the high fidelity wireframes, and they're nearly there. And in parallel, we're developing the homepage UI concepts for council to see. And as well as, I believe today, the accessibility committee will see the homepage concepts. I believe JC was going to do that here with us today.
Jeremy, can you just break out some of the acronyms for the committee, please? Like UI?
Right. So UI means user interface. So it basically means everything you see on the website. And then UX means user experience. So whenever I say UX, I'm referring to wireframes, which isn't the design, but it's the process before we go to design. So we get the system right before everything is polished up. And I'll make that more clear as well as we go through in the next couple slides here. If you could, so just a little bit of clarity on the roles. Tenzing's role here is to provide web compliance, which means we will design, build, and deliver a website that meets the WCAG 2.2 AA requirements and AODA requirements. And we will also provide the authoring rules, WordPress training, and the documentation to support that ongoing accessibility. But on the other hand, there is a responsibility on Meaford to maintain the compliance with the content in the documents that they publish, such as PDFs. We will provide the standards and templates and guidance. However, it is the municipality's responsibilities to maintain uh, the accessibility in their day-to-day publishing. And then I'll just stop here and just ask if there's any questions so far.
I think before we move on, Jeremy, if I could just add for the benefit of the committee that while Tenzing will be giving us this website and it will be up to our standards and compliant with our accessibility requirements, we've implemented 3 different measures to make sure that we stay up to date with accessibility requirements on this website. So the first one is that before the launch of the site, all editors or administrators of the website from the staff perspective will be adequately trained in how to update the website to remain accessible. The second is that Tenzing is our website partner for the next 5 years as part of this agreement. So they will be doing quarterly reviews on our top visited pages to ensure that those pages remain compliant with accessibility requirements. And then the third metric, which Jeremy will touch on in some additional detail, will be the accessibility plugin that we choose that will be able to monitor what that looks like and potentially flag any issues with regard to how we're putting content on a page. Just to provide that additional information to the committee. Back to you, Jeremy.
Yeah,
I
that
have
was
one
great,
question,
Holly.
if it's okay. My biggest concern throughout this will be the print size on that shows up on a phone. Since I can't read a word of what you put up on the screen, why should I trust you to design a system that makes the words on a phone visible?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point. And so that is a specification in the WCAG specifications that we will follow. And we will ensure that you will also have the opportunity where it clearly shows on the web page using the accessibility widget that you can adjust that font size as well yourself if you find that it is still too small. But we will make sure that the font size is up to the AA specification standards according to the AODA. I hope that is answers the question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, I think we were on slide 5, Holly. Um, so this just is another overview of the compliant target that we're going to meet. So as I said, it's the WCAG 2.2 level AA compliance. So what this does is it allows users with disabilities, including auditory, cognitive, neurological, any other disability and impairments, for uh, access to the municipal website without facing barriers associated with any of the specifications. So basically, this is answering the question that was just asked. So we will cover all specifications and we will be up to standard, as well as you'll see later, there's a widget that users can actually go in and increase the font size on the website for themselves if they need that. But also the website doing these standards also benefits users without temporary disabilities. So without disabilities, and they may have temporary disabilities, factors due to multiple input methods or methods of input that don't work for them in the moment, environmental conditions, or slow and limited internet connections. So meeting these compliant targets is really important, not just for people with disabilities, but also it helps everyone else as well. So modern web development is a mobile first development, as Holly mentioned before. 60%, 55 to 60% of the traffic on Meaford uses a mobile device. So these are obviously, as the question mentioned before, they're small screens and therefore font is also smaller. So for proper responsive design and development, we need to account for that and make sure the font is still legible, even on small screens. And in particular, with phones, you can get into situations with low light conditions, such as sun exposure when you're outside. So we need to account for those things as well and make sure the contrast standards are met, as well as give the users, the opportunity to adjust their contrast settings as well. And you'll see that with the public widget that is an option as well. So is there any more questions as we go through this?
I think we're all good here, Jeremy. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so I believe the next slide is our high-level overview and approach. So this is Tenzing's approach to web development. It's a phased approach, and at each phase, we have our own checklist to ensure that we are meeting the AODA obligations. And as we go into the next slide, starting with the sitemap. So the sitemap is the first phase of the project, which is already completed. This we ensure the site supports accessibility, helping residents quickly find key services through clear labels, a logical hierarchy, and multiple consistent ways to navigate. So this is your foundation that you build any website off of. And these include task-first pathways, having a clear hierarchy, consistent naming, so using plain, uncomplicated language, keeping it shallow. You don't want to go too many levels deep in your navigation system, or else things can be difficult to find for people. Orientation clues, descriptive icons, and testing all critical user journeys to make sure you cover all the different journeys that people use to use your website on a daily basis. And then next is the UX UI, which means user experience and user interface design. So this is the phase we are essentially in right now. And what this does is build on the foundation that I mentioned before and actually gives you the system and look and feel of the website at the same time before we go into development. So during this phase, it's important to have consistent page structures, have reusable components that are AOD accessible. So we avoid the chance of admins on the Meaford website adding content and widgets to the website that are not compliant. In this and during this phase as well, you can develop predictive navigation patterns that work well for keyboard, screen reader, and mobile users. So this all includes template consistency, as I said, consistent landmarks, reusable components, breadcrumbs, consistent navigation, component libraries, and readable content patterns.
For the purposes of the committee, I'll just jump in and we can explain breadcrumbs and show you where that is once we get to the design. That is an industry term. There is no
Sure.
actual bread or toast involved. Sorry to disappoint anyone.
Yeah, for sure. Breadcrumbs is a very important feature of any website. Um, it's used for being able to navigate back, and so people don't get lost. So you can see the full trail of where you are on the website, and you can navigate back if you need to. And then we will move on to the next phase. So this is going beyond where we are at the moment. And this is more in my personal wheelhouse in the development side of things. So when we develop, after everything above, when it comes to time to developing, we make sure that we develop with assisted technology always in mind. So screen readers and keyboard interaction become very important. So being able to use the website without a mouse, in particular, is very important that we look at all the time, as well as ensuring that headings are in proper order. So in a typical page, you'll have a heading, a subhead, and paragraph text underneath all that. So semantic structure means that that structure is maintained. So you don't have paragraphs and lists all over the place and it becomes a page of spaghetti, basically. So this having proper headings and proper page structure, just like how a newspaper looks, you have a heading above and paragraphs underneath. So in a digital world, screen readers can more easily detect where you are on the page and navigate people on a page um, based on the heading sequence. So that's very important. A skip to content link, another very important element, and ensuring that any interactivity has clear and concise uh, error messages and validation messages and status messaging so people understand what's happening. And as well as providing icons and imagery where appropriate with the appropriate alt text, which means that if you have a graphic of something, there needs to be content with that. It can't just be a graphic with text on the graphic because people may not be able to see that graphic. So they might have low vision. So you need a text equivalent to that graphic so that screen readers can read that content to people. So that's also very important. And then we'll move on to, I believe, the content. So this one is more of a shared responsibility. So over time, PDFs and documents are going to be uploaded to the website, and there are tagging consistencies that need to be maintained, as well as providing PDFs that are accessible for screen readers and things like that. So Tenzing will work with Meaford to make sure that the content, not only now during the migration process, that later down the road, the content also is properly maintained to be compliant. And that's done by having content rules, authoring guidelines, and providing some example guidelines to maintain, as well as the document tagging. As mentioned before, the tagging is very important for search indexing and things like that. So that is that is important to maintain as well going forward. And so this is next. This is Tenzing's comprehensive checklist that we will provide at the very end upon delivery of the website, which is good documentation for Meaford to, if they are ever questioned about their compliance, their status, this is one of the documents that they can deliver to the party that's requesting proof of that compliance. So we'll provide you this checklist, which proves that we covered all our bases from Tenzing's perspective, to delivering Meaford an accessible website. And then the last phase is the actual launch and then ongoing compliance. So here's that public accessibility widget that was mentioned earlier. So there's the free version, which we can see here, and there's also in a more comprehensive, expensive version, which we don't have here, but we can, if you want that information about what the more accessible plugin contains, we can send that to you. But the free version does have the ability to increase text size, as you might be able to see. Maybe you can't in the presentation here, but there it's a widget that when you see the UI design in a moment, you'll see that there is a button that indicates accessibility on the right side. And when you open it, it's a drawer, and you can click that button to increase the text size if you need it, as well as other options that involve low vision individuals or differed vision individuals, such as grayscaling the page, and uh, adjusting the page for high and negative contrast, and as well as a couple other helpful tools in the widget as well. So that's the public accessibility widget. And then the last part of this is, as Holly mentioned before, those quarterly checks that Tenzing will provide, which tests the top pages on the site to make sure that the site has maintained its AODA compliance.
If I can just add to that quickly, Jeremy, if the committee is looking for an example of an accessibility tool like this in practice before the launch of our website, I'd encourage you to visit the Prince Edward County website, and that goes for any of the public watching. If you visit the Prince Edward County website today, they have a tool like this where you can play around with it, where you're able to increase and decrease the font size. And that experience is unique to each website visitors. And I believe, and Jeremy, you can correct me if I am wrong, that those accessibility adjustments that you're making through this tool, they do not stay or save. You have to adjust it every time you are to visit a page. But you are able to see that in practice, and it is a standard that other municipalities are using. They have varying different features, so we're just looking to determine right now what meets the needs of Meaford, and understanding the different benefits to ensure that we get value in the tool that we select. And we also select a tool that is continually evolving. We're not selecting a tool and needing to reevaluate in 2 years because we selected a tool where a company wasn't continually advancing their back-end software.
Yeah, that's correct, Holly. That sounds very good, and yeah, explained everything. for
Super,
sure.
thank you.
Okay, so the last slide, we just open it up to any questions. And as well as after that, the committee's feedback and recommendations, which we're excited to hear about.
Thanks very much for your presentation. Yeah, I think there may be a few questions. We'll start with Wendy. Go ahead.
Just vocabulary. What's the difference between a widget and a plugin?
So a plugin is, so if we're going to design and build you a website, and down the road, instead of coming to us, you could purchase a plugin for any sort of situation that I need a special functionality for something that perhaps Tenzing doesn't need to be involved in. You could do that yourselves, or we can purchase a plugin. It's a feature that can add functionality to your website that doesn't require custom coding and things like that. And then a widget is something that Tenzing will build for Meaford specifically. And as well as that, so widgets also include common elements as well. So things like a form can be considered a widget, and an accordion can be considered a widget. A table can be considered a widget. So some of those are elements, and they're used sort of interchangeably, elements and widgets. They all make up all the things you see on the website. But plugins are extra code you can add from third parties down the road if you need it.
Go ahead, Holly.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair, I think if I were to draw a parallel of what is a plugin, to put it in a bit more simple terms for the committee and for the public, you buy a smartphone today, and that comes with sort of like your standard applications, your phone, your messages, your calculator. But if you're looking to do something more robust, you might go to your app store to purchase another tool or software that's already created, and you're putting it on your phone. You're adding sort of like a plugin or an application to your phone to enhance the capability. So anytime you might need to, I know that there is a regular calculator, but let's say you're looking to use a scientific calculator as an example. You can now go to the scientific calculator app that you may have downloaded from the App Store to do that, and it's now right on your phone, if that makes it a bit more clear.
Yeah, well said, Holly.
Stuart, go ahead.
What is Pojo accessibility?
That's the free option. So I believe, as Holly just mentioned, that's still a question, that should we go with the more expensive plugin or the free plugin? And Pojo is the free one. So that's the one we showed you in the presentation just now. That includes some basic features of increasing font size, increasing text size, and changing the contrast, and a couple other smaller features. Pojo is the free plugin, and the more expensive one will have more features and functionality.
Mary, go ahead.
Sort of just following from that question. So really, if we're looking at the one accessible, the Pojo, compared to the the one that we would have to pay for, we kind of also have to look at our population, don't we? Like, I'm thinking that if we look at our population, that's a lot of seniors, but we also have a lot of people who are neurodiverse, you know, that may be getting the actual paying for it may give us more options to have those people actually participate. I don't know how I was just looking at it, going at the one you showed us, which is great, and thank you for your presentation. But it's just, I would like to see how we make that kind of universal. Oh, that'll do that for, 50% of the people that we have. And I don't know if that's even possible, but it's just a thought that I think we often look at text and contrast and, that you think visual, but I know it goes way farther than visual. So I'm just thinking we may want to look at exactly what, our population would do better with. That's just a thought. And my second thought, if I can say it, is I was saying to Holly earlier, I think it'd be really great if we had public orientation sessions when we get the website, because like at first I'm looking, I didn't see the little person. And I was like, where's the accessibility stuff? And then I saw it. So, but I think this looks so great that if we had some orientation sessions at the library, we could probably train some volunteers to do it. I think people would use it better then. And those accessibility features would be really well used. So just a suggestion.
Holly?
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair, to answer your questions, Mary, and your suggestions. Both of those are excellent. Some of the discussion today, or some of the intent from myself and from Tenzing, was to provide some assurance that we are looking at things like this. Jeremy said and explained well that this is the basic, but this is an area where we would look to the accessibility committee should they have the wish that we explore something with a bit more robust tools in it to reach more of our population potentially. That's something that we as staff could look into, and to tell council that this is something the accessibility committee wants us to look into. Yeah, the basics is okay, but maybe we should look into something that will serve more of our community. We aren't stuck with a plugin forever. That's sort of the nice element of it, but at the same time, it's why choose one now and then need to add a more robust one in 2 or 3 years. So that was to answer your first point. And for your second point on the orientation, I am all for it. If you can get a group of people together, I'm sure that we can work with the library and run training sessions on how to interact with and use the website. I also welcome members of the accessibility committee. If you want to pop into my office around the launch of the website to come in and get your own explainer, I'm happy to walk through that as well.
Yes, I do.
Through you, Chair, to Holly, yeah, I think we need to kind of, in my opinion, look at like something other than the basic and to look at cost versus benefit. Maybe it's not worth it. Like maybe it's a waste of money. It's hard to know without looking at it. Second point is text to voice. Sorry, is it Jeremy from Tenzing?
Yes.
Jeremy, you mentioned screen readers, so pardon my ignorance. If I'm a low vision user and I go to the website, is that on my end, the user end, the screen reader, or is that incorporated into the website itself?
So for screen readers, that's a feature of your computer that you have set up. I know that computers, I can't speak for Windows, but I know Mac has a screen reader built in to their computers and laptops now. So what someone would do is they would enable this feature, and what it does in their settings, and what it does is when they navigate anywhere on their computer, so not just this website or websites, they go to their settings or anything like that. But if they do go to this website or any website, what it does is it'll actually, so when I mentioned before about keyboard interaction, it's very important we focus on that, because people with low vision, they'll navigate through their keyboard and by touch. And then when you navigate, by keyboard, whatever the element that you're focused on the web page, it'll announce to you through speech and tell you where you are on the website instead of using your eyes to visually know where you are on the website. The system will tell you where you are, and then you can navigate that way on the website.
Thank you. That's a great explanation.
Anything further? I do have a couple of questions, and um, I, I guess the first one would be for the representative from Tanzania, or Holly would like to know this too. This WCAG 2.1/2.2 level AA that that demonstrates the rules and regulations. How often does that change? How often is it revised, or is this something that's going to be in effect for a considerable length of time, or if and when it does change, is that going to greatly alter the what we are preparing today?
Right. Yeah, I can speak to that. Yeah, that's a tough one. What we can do now is just go whatever based or whatever the specification is now based on what AODA. So WCAG is a global term. It's a world term that it it outlines, and there's three levels of it. There's A, double A, and triple A. So triple A is the highest, and I don't envision that ever being the standard because it's very comprehensive for sites that are required to go through, make sure that everything is covered, every possible thing is covered, while double A is the middle ground that the Ontario, so AODA, which is the Ontario Accessibility uh, system, is chose double A as the standard, and that's the standard we need to follow right now. I don't want to speak too much because I don't want to say anything that's untrue. So, but what I can say is that it does change. And usually there's a grace period for that change. I can't say what that grace period is, but as long as we're compliant to the AODA, what AODA requires now, that's all we can really do at the moment. But I can't say for sure that it won't change in the future.
Thank you. Holly?
So through you, Mr. Chair, I did do some research on this while I was writing my report. And as Jeremy said, the WCAG is an international standard. So that is upheld by they call themselves the W3C, lots of acronyms when you get into websites and really any industry, I'm sure. But that is the Website Accessibility Initiative. So we are on update WCAG 2.2. Taking a step back, looking at when they introduced the 2.0 was 2008. And then the 2.1 was introduced in 2018. So it took about 10 years between the two different iterations, but then some updates were made over the years, and we'll do our best to stay up to date with those updates as they come through, and also lean on Tenzing. As he'd mentioned, there's some grace periods to make sure that our website does stay up to date. But just to end with that, the WCAG 2.2 was published in the fall of 2023, and then they're just making some minor updates. So they made an update in 2024. Based on historic trends, we could likely see a minor update soon, but we'll be sure to stay on top of that and make the changes as we can within the website.
Thanks for that, Holly. I was just wondering as far as revisions, municipally driven revisions are concerned, I'm hoping, they aren't too often, once we get this one set up. I do have, a question, and I think this is more on the municipal, preparation. Holly, I've had people, ask me, they've gone on the site, they want some kind of information, whether it's time or, dates or whatever. And, some of our facilities, people know them by different names. Uh, People told me, I wanna check out the arena, something at the arena. Well, the arena is actually the Meaford St. Vincent Community Center, and, they're trying to, okay, what the arena, what's so difficult about that? Or something like the wastewater treatment plant, which some people know as the sewage treatment plant, and how do we get around something like this? I mean, for someone who has called a facility or a service something for 40 or 50 years, and it's unfortunate, it's possible they maybe never recognized it by a different name. How are how are we gonna work, uh, around something like that? It, it, it's just something that, I've had people say, I have trouble, I get into the website and I get the first screen or two, and then where do I go from there? Can you help me?
I hope that I can. So through you, Mr. Chair, I can answer a portion of your question, and then I'll pass it over to Jeremy to speak to a bit more of the search and different tags and things that we can put in the back end. But I understand that we can put some search tags in the back end. But I also just want to speak to one element of the RFP that we included the ability to do something in the future, but we aren't quite there yet today. And that is the integration of an AI chatbot. So we aren't there today. When we do launch the website, it will not include something like this. But we included this in our original RFP as to not hold ourselves back from adding something like this in the future. We did take a look at some plugins or some connections that other municipalities use, and they are very robust if we choose the very costly ones. And then they pose a significant risk if we use a lot of the free ones. So right now we're not in a position where I am recommending the chatbot. If you were to type in the arena, I wouldn't want it to give you information of maybe the Owen Sound arena or another one of our neighbors' arenas. So that's why we're not including a chatbot yet today. I'll also just add that not including the chat bot today was based on some other discussions and talks that I've heard from other municipalities. The City of Toronto introduced a chat bot, I want to say in and around COVID times in 2020, just with the influx of questions. But they've actually removed that in the past few years just because it's taken away from that experience and interactions that some of their staff have had with the community. So it's taken away that personal touch. So they've made the conscious decision to move away from that. To get back to your question though, and talk about the arena and the sewage plant and what we can do in the back end, I'll pass it over to Jeremy.
Thank you.
For sure, Holly. That sounded great. And what that sounds to me is more of a phase one item. So we could go back and look at that again. And in particular, the consistent naming. So the site map is what I'm talking about, which is the phase one. And to make sure that we test those critical user journeys mentioned to make sure that people who do say Arena versus St. Vincent's can find where they're looking to go. So that's a part of the naming consistency phase as well. I'll add as well, we can do things like for events and things like that, where instead of an address, we can actually have the name. So we can detect that it's a common address. So such as the address for St. Vincent's will actually have the title of St. Vincent's as well as the address. So it's clear to people that that's the arena. But this is, as I said before, this is a something to be decided at the sitemap level for the naming consistency.
Thanks for that. And certainly you mentioned mapping and again, an important part. And if there's ways of intertwining names and addresses and maps, that'll be a great advantage for a number of people. Anything further, Wendy? Go ahead.
It's a little bit off the accessibility track, but for the search tool, Mary and I had the same comment. Many websites we go to the website, we type in something we want to search, and it seems to search the whole internet. Can we restrain the searching to the municipal website or the website that it's on?
Yeah, that's a good question. We know we definitely know what you're talking about. We've seen that before, as you mentioned, and we're going to go through our usual processes to make sure that that doesn't happen here. And we know that it's happening to you now. So we're going to make sure that there's really big emphasis on getting the search right because we know how important that is to you. And that starts with all the phases from the foundation of the sitemap. So that's a combination of everything, including proper tagging of things like that. So it's an effort on our part as well as Meaford's part to maintain that proper tagging and indexing, which we will go through with them to make sure that we get the search right for you.
Thank you.
Okay, if there isn't anything more for the Tenzing folks, thank you again. We appreciate your efforts. And Holly, you have.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So that was the first portion of Tenzing's presentation. Now I'd like to move into some design elements, if you would indulge me, to allow the committee to see what the design looks like and potentially call out some features that they may or may not like to allow me to bring forward the committee's desire for a design at council on Monday.
That would be fine. Yeah,
Okay. Thank you very much. Do we have JC on the line as well?
That we do.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So I'll just I'll do a little bit of preamble for you, JC, on the wireframes, and then we'll jump into the designs that we're looking at.
Okay.
So the committee would have seen two different appendix number 1 and 2 included in the agenda package. And I included in some of my introductory remarks that we are designing this as a mobile first website. So that's what you will see in Appendix 1, as well as what's up on the screen here. This has been a first in my career. I've designed many websites and working just with the Build Your Own Online, as well as working with consultants. And this is the first time that I've designed a website in this sort of aspect ratio and needing to keep in mind the number of users that are viewing the website on mobile. So in doing that, we wanted to make sure that the placement of things, the sizing of things, the way that it interacts works on both mobile and desktop devices. So I just wanted to highlight that for the committee, that while this is not an ideal size to print, which I apologize, Mary, I see with a
Can
printout
still read it,
here.
though. I can still read it.
But that was the intent, and that's the rationale as why staff did include this. So we've included that, as I said, as Appendix 1 for the mobile. Appendix 2 is a bit easier to read on a desktop. Those are the wireframes, as Jeremy spoke about, through the different design process, but we've been able to make some strides, and we have JC from Tenzing on the line here that's able to walk us through a couple of the different design options that we have here. So I'll first start off with mobile, and we'll call the first one our design A. So we'll be seeing today a design A and a design B. And I appreciate that you're seeing this for the first time, but I really wanted the committee to see a colored version of this before it did go to council, just to get some feedback. So I will be on the mobile version, JC, to start, as we are mobile first. But you can tell me how you'd like to navigate around this for the discussion.
Okay, great. Thanks, Holly. So I just want to start or preface going through the design by saying that we took inspiration from your logo, from the Municipality of Meaford logo, and obviously we used the municipality's colors. We wanted to take advantage of sort of the curves and the shapes that you see in your logo, the curves in the leaf and the apple shape. And while we are using your complete color palette, we are leaning a little bit on the blue. And the reason for that is we want to sort of have a stronger tie to your proximity to Georgian Bay and your waterfront, which is a main feature and a main attraction, main destination for the municipality of Meaford. So what you see here is a representation of that, or a graphic representation of that. We will show you a couple of variations, and those variations are subtle, but specifically for the accessibility committee, you may have some opinions on them. So as you land on the website from a mobile device, you are presented with a welcome message that clearly identifies that you are now on the Municipality of Meaford website. The first thing that most of your users in their user journey would most likely have been on the website before and are now revisiting, and therefore have a very specific intent that they want to do. So we want to present them first with what we're calling quick links. And these are links to pages and services and information that statistically your users visit at any given time of the year. So in the winter, maybe it's about the skating rinks or the skating areas. In the summer, maybe it's about the beaches being open. These quick links can be categorized across the different sort of buckets of information that we've outlined for the website. So services is a very big thing for our community members. Community and recreation will be another bucket that will have its own set of quick links. Planning and development, business and economy, and government. So these quick links can be customized, again, based on what we want to highlight. In this variation, so Holly just did a quick back and forth there, we've done a version of the quick links where the icons are surrounded by a solid shape, which is a circle, and one where the icons are sitting on their own on a white page. And that's really to test what is easier to perceive. So you can see the two differences there.
Yeah, so the committee and the public can just see these are the icons with no background versus the inverse.
And in the actual practice of this, item, any element on the website that is interactable will change color when you interact on it, especially on desktop. The other thing that we want to point out is if you just scroll a little bit up, Polly. Earlier we were talking about accessibility and what that would look like, how that is implemented. That is the plugin that Jeremy was talking about earlier. It'll be a drawer because it behaves like a drawer. It will draw out of the right-hand side, and the accessibility options will be revealed in that area.
Does the committee have any questions on that? Is it clear enough? Perfect. Thank you, JC.
Okay. And then the next section we'll have the other two sort of content buckets that we will have on the landing page of the website. One of which is news and notices, which again can be chosen specifically or can be set so that it's just in chronological order. You also will have an opportunity to see all news and updates should you choose. And next section will be community calendar. Again, we'll highlight the first four. You'll also have the opportunity to see the full calendar if you wanted to. When you see the desktop version of this, one of the other variations that we're going to show you is whether or not the calendar appears on the left or on the right-hand side, and then the news and notices, vice versa. And that's really, that becomes important on mobile because we all read from left to right. So whatever is on the left will appear first. And we also wanted to include a lot of lifestyle moments into our website. So what this is an Instagram feed. So the municipality has its own Instagram account that we post things on, events, lifestyle, things of that nature. So what we want to do is we want to pull from the Meaford Instagram account and this happens automatically, and show it on the website as a carousel. And then we also can invite users to follow us on our Instagram account. And then finally, we've got our footer. This will be a standard footer for the whole website. It's information that will always be there. So we want things that are general to the website, nothing specific to the page. So contact information for the municipality, the opportunity to connect with us in all our social channels. We want to give them an opportunity to subscribe to our newsletter. And we also want to give them quick links to Meaford Hall, the museum, the public library, and as well as our sort of nuts and bolts content like privacy policy directory, our accessibility policy, and a quick link to our contact page.
JC, I can go to now the desktop version so
Yeah.
the committee's seen what that looks like on a mobile device. Now we can flip to see what this looks like on a traditional laptop.
Yeah. So again, if you look at, so the main thing that is visible here now that you don't see on a mobile is that navigation at the top. We call it a navigation header. So on a mobile device, you would have to click on what we call a hamburger on the top right to expose all of this. On a desktop, obviously, we have a lot more real estate, so we can show this in its entirety. It will have a search bar. All the elements that you see up here will be consistent across every page of the website. So it will always have a search bar, and this will search the municipality website only. It will have our primary navigation, which I've sort of listed before, which have been categorized under services, community recreation, planning and development, business and economy, and government. We have a secondary navigation, and these are the ones that are what we deem as less important. Not that they're not important, but in the everyday navigation of our website, it proved to be the least visited content. So that's where we'll have our career postings. If our citizens have a concern that they need to report, snow that has not been cleared, pothole that is messing up my tires, which is never good. And also access to our online services. When you scroll down, this is how our quick links look on desktop. And this is where I mentioned before, the order of content becomes critical. So on this example, we've got news and notices on the left and the community calendar on the right. What that means, so on desktop, it doesn't seem so critical because I see them both at the same time. On a mobile, what will happen is I will see news and notices first, and I will see community calendars second. So depending on what we want to feature or what we think our public is there to look at first, will determine which side of the screen these two content pieces should go. And that's how our Instagram feed looks like on desktop. And again, the footer that is standard across. The other thing that we want to show you is what this submenus would look like when you, let's say you're in services and you hover over services. It will have a drop-down menu that lists all of the different subpages that are categorized under services. I'm not going to read all of them to you because I'm sure you're very familiar with all of them. And we'll also have that feature on the right that you see. We call it a highlight content, and that's really anything that falls under the services category that we want to highlight outside of having to navigate to these specific pages. So if your property tax bill is coming up, it could be an announcement about that. If there is a broken water main somewhere, it could be an announcement about that. It doesn't have to be an alert example. It can be a lifestyle-based piece of content, but that feature really is meant to allow us to call out certain content that we want to highlight.
And if I could just jump in really quickly, JC, I think that it's also important to note the different toned background on the one that we're highlighting. So I think that would be critically important for a keyboard-only user to be able to see where they are on a page if they're tabbing through.
And also, I guess this would be a good time to point out that the color combinations that we are using, so services in white against a blue background, have all been vetted so that it does comply with AODA and meets the color ratio for visibility, and we make sure that everything that we add on top of that is always tested. If you want to see what the submenu is under garbage and recycling, there will be an accordion or a drop-down menu that opens when you click that, and that shows you the three pages that are associated with garbage, recycling, and organics. So clearly marked that these three items are under garbage, recycling, and organics. So again, that adds to the accessibility of it and the ease in navigating the information. And the last thing we're going to show you, I believe, is just that other expression of those icons that we talked about earlier, and I guess also how the news and news and notices and calendar order flips. And then the other thing that we wanted to point out, the other little difference, is that little Apple icon there at the bottom left of the footer. We think that it adds a bit of irreverence to the website. It also makes it very much Meaford branded. You can't put Muskoka District Municipality information on here without it making sense. So these are just little things that we want to add in so that the look and feel of this website is Meaford and nobody else.
Perfect. Thank you, JC. So for the benefit of the committee, what I'll do now is I'll just zoom out and really clearly show the two options and just summarize some of the key differences, and we can decide if the committee would like to state a preference for option A or option B, or we can just, if the committee doesn't want to necessarily state a preference that one is preferred over the other, we can just talk about some different elements. So we have option A would look like this one here. So option A, to summarize, has the circular icons with the blue background with the white text. Apologies. Option A also has our news and notices on the left, our community calendar on the right. So as JC was mentioning, when we see this on mobile, we will see the quick links and then the news, and then the community calendar would be at the bottom. This version A has a straight line across the footer on the bottom and then a note of blue. So those are sort of the three areas that we're looking at. Then I'll switch over to option B is here. So option B has just the icons without the contrasting background. It has the community calendar on the left, news and notices on the right. So it would come before the community calendar, before the news when you're viewing on a phone. And then this version features an apple across the bottom, uniquely to Meaford, and then the red in the bottom left-hand corner to tie the apple. What I will do is show you that version, especially on mobile, just so that the committee can make an informed decision as to whether or not the apple clutters the page. I'm looking for feedback on if the red might be too much or too harsh, and or if the committee has a preference on the icons and whether they would like the ones with the blue contrasting background or without. And from there, I'm happy to open it up for discussion. Thank you so much for your indulgence, Mr. Chair.
Mary.
I'll start it off. I have to tell you, I think it's less busy with the icons not having the blue in behind them, to be truthful. And the other thing is, it makes me feel good to see that apple. There's no other reason for it. I like the apple with the little red in the corner. I think it draws your eye, so I think that's great. So, yeah, that's just my opinion on that.
Any other preferences?
I like the apple. I was gonna say the opposite for Mary. I like the things with the background on them, but I maybe have to see them again, the icons with the background. And I like the news and notices on the left. And so to be first on the mobile version. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. How do I guess the concern is like on a desktop, those are fine, but on a mobile, those, oh, that is the mobile version. That might be very, yeah. I don't know. I don't use my phone for that, but yeah, I think, okay, I'll agree with Mary that perhaps the clean version, $10, thank you.
Any other comments? Sherman.
I like the without the background too. It's makes it stand out without the background. And the apple, yeah, I like the apple too. It's eye attracting, I guess. That's the first thing I drew my eyes to is the apple. So, but yeah, that looks good. Oh, the calendar. I like the news on the left than I do the right with the like the date on the right hand side. Because if you're looking for something that's you read left to right, so that's, you're gonna get tracked it too.
Maybe.
Through you, Chair, I just want to say overall, both versions look really sharp and I love the header that it's really vibrant and it's just, that looks so, yeah, just, it really looks sharp. So thanks for an awesome job.
I actually like both of them as long as the words are in English. And on that point, we do have a few French-speaking residents in our municipality. A few that French is likely their first language. Certainly some who are involved with the army base have a is I don't like to bring this point up, but where are we with bilingualism as far as this? Is it has it been considered in this website preparation?
So through you, Mr. Chair, having a bilingual website was not a requirement at the time of this RFP being put together and put out. However, it could be considered in the future. I'll just add that one change that you will see in terms of an upcoming budget and the way that we budget for the website moving forward, my recommendation would be to put a little bit of money away year over year rather than having one large significant expense at once. So putting that money away could allow us to make an enhancement like that sooner than we would make a significant update on the website. So that is an option. I'm not an expert. It would require, like, there are different options where you could have a cheaper option where you just use an AI overlay and we could make our website in French. We could make it in, I think, any language because of the technology that's out there today. But I'm sure that there are much more costly options where there is the human element where the entire website is translated into a preferred language. But at the time of the RFP for clarity, there wasn't the requirement to have this be en français.
All right, thank you. Mary?
Yeah, it's funny. I was wondering the same thing, but I agree with Holly. I think we hold on. I think the way AI is going, that there'll probably be an option that's not too bad. And I'd like to also say, I bet if we looked at our whenever we have another census, I bet there's other languages that actually would come before French now in our population because we have such an influx of newcomers. And I would suspect there'd be several languages that could help people.
Sure. Oh, okay. All right. Sure. Yeah, okay. Yes, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Take care. Is there anything more concerning the website? Yeah, the only other question I wanted to ask Holly is, are we still on schedule with the preparation and the final release date?
So through you, Mr. Chair, we are looking for about a mid-July launch date. We've been able to work with our current website provider to have support through until the end of August. So we'll be able to publish an actual date once we get a little bit closer. But we do have our schedule fully mapped out. We have a project manager that's dedicated to making sure that this meets our timeline requirements. As you know, this was a very short timeline to turn around an entirely new website. So the team, both internally and working with Tenzing, has been working pretty swiftly to meet that timeline, but about a mid-July launch.
Thanks for that. Okay. All right, well, that's been an interesting, hour and almost a half, but, and
Apologies,
I,
Mr.
oh,
Chair.
is there
I-
more?
I just wanted to summarize my interpretation of today's discussions, just so that we're all clear in my synopsis and moving forward to Monday's council meeting. So from what I've heard, that there is a preference for design option B, which includes the news on the left, the calendar on the right, the apple at the bottom, and then having the icons without the blue contrasting background. So if that is what the committee would like to put forward, I'm happy to bring that to council on Monday, and hopefully we can get a decision and keep going with our design and development process. But thank you so much to the committee for working through this with us. It's been a pleasure on my part, and I'm sure that this will be one of the first of many accessibility committee meetings that I'll be able to attend in my role in working with communications and customer service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think the committee is comfortable with that. Before we leave this, we do have a recommendation, moved and seconded, and if there's nothing more, I'll ask for, your, ask for your vote of approval. All in favor? Okay, thanks. Now, I know our deputy clerk, Allison, has been anxiously waiting to launch this 7A item, and it is it has to do with the upcoming election this fall, and it involves accessibility, and Allison's going to take us through it. The recommendation is that the Accessibility Advisory Committee receive report AAC 2026-02, accessibility pre-election plan for information purposes. So if I could have a mover and a seconder, get it on the table. Wendy?
I know I can't second the motion. I just want to double check before we put the motion on the floor. Just I am cognizant that our end time is normally 2:30. So I don't want to start and then lose quorum. This particular item isn't an emergency for us. We could come back in May. So are folks okay to stay for a little while, or would you like to call it here?
Yes, Stuart, go ahead.
I'll have to go as soon as he gets back from dropping off.
Okay. All right, now that's going to
8
affect,
minutes.
our quorum, will it? Allison, we're okay at this moment, but.
Or about 8
For
minutes.
8 minutes we've got here.
Okay,
Sure.
well, it's, I know it's a reasonably lengthy report, and you have a lot of things to comment upon, so if the committee is comfortable with postponing this.
Certainly, perhaps maybe a motion to postpone this report until the next regular meeting of the
Okay.
committee. And then if we have a couple of minutes left after that, we could do committee inquiries.
Okay, Stuart, would you like to make that motion that we postpone? Thank you. Mary, thanks. All in favor of, okay, that's great. Committee inquiries, there, we may have time for some questions. Mary?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention a couple of things, if that's okay, and if it, I'm not sure of the procedure, but I just didn't know, I think it's really important that this committee keeps up with what's happening in age friendly. I don't know if Meaford's on that coalition. But anyway, doesn't matter. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I was heard from Cassandra from Grey County, and Grey County has been called or has received the designation from the province of being an age-friendly counties. So I just wanted to make sure we kind of stayed in the loop for that because a lot of it is accessibility. And so I do have an email and I thought I could send it through. And it's changes, they've done changes to the website. The big thing is they have a business handout now. And I had given them the names of Kimberly Rogers because she's now on Chamber of Commerce, and Jess Kenyon, so that would start to move its way through through Meaford. And they even have their own landing page now. I like that I could say landing page. So, and the other thing, there's a whole bunch of upcoming events like Hanover Active Aging Expo, which is March. Oh, I think that was yesterday, so forget that one. But there's a number of things coming up that people might be interested in, and I just thought it's good for our committee to know what's going on there. And the second thing that I wanted to send out to the committee members is I did go attend a webinar from the Rick Hansen Foundation on neurodiversity, or applying neurodiversity to the built environment. And it was really quite interesting. And I was hoping they were going to send us all the slides, but I haven't got them yet. But I did want to share the Accessibility Institute at Carleton with everybody because I think they're doing some really cool work. So I thought I would also include that email because the whole neurodivergent part of it is really getting big. And the biggest thing, if you never remembered anything from this whole webinar, was you got to be flexible. So, and so anyway, I just thought those were some really cool resources that our committee might like to know a little more about. I forgot to put my thing on.
And
Oh, I am. I'm sorry.
thank you, Mary, for that. We just jump ahead briefly to item 9A, was a letter that we sent off to the Rick Hansen Foundation Barrier Buster Grant. And I don't think we've had any response concerning that as of yet, but the letter has been sent quite a while ago. If I may, I just wanted to mention, I don't know if the committee might be interested in taking a look at this. Bruce Dufferin Gray Wellington Transit Study is underway, and it was introduced at Gray County Council a couple of weeks ago. It's quite an extensive presentation. There's 40-some pages, but the print is large on most of the pages. But it talks about an intermunicipal transit study thus far. The vision is to connect our part of the province to other areas, and I just wondered, it's Dillon Consulting is doing the study, and it has been on the Gray County website on the March 12th meeting, and I just wondered if you're interested in some extra reading, if you want to take a look at it. Accessibility transportation is a part of it, and I was a little disappointed. It's not mentioned that often in the study, but I just wondered if it was something maybe our accessibility committee might want to send some comments to. Mary?
So I take it it's a separate thing they're doing for the accessibility part? So you said they hardly ever mentioned it? Because I mean,
Oh,
that's,
the study is
Yeah.
transportation overall,
Okay.
transportation for all, but as far as I'm concerned, if we're going to be talking about transportation from our area to certainly Stone Sounds a natural. Collingwood is another national. No, unfortunately, Simcoe County is not involved in it. But no, I just wanted to mention that there is a study going on, and It would involve a lot of different areas, a lot of different destinations.
Yeah, I just think it would be good for us because we were ones that did stand up when we had the Gray County Transit. And we were making a lot of loud noises because what they promised and what they did were two totally different things. I mean, it was supposed to be a transit for everybody where, I so look forward to getting on a bus with my husband and going to Blue Mountain. And they told us it would be that way, and it never, ever was. It was quite a disappointment. And as for someone advocating, I was totally disgusted by the way the Gray County answered us on that. They promised it. We knew it was because of COVID, things were held up. And then it just kept getting dropped away and it just soon became very obvious it was not going to be a integrated transit system. So I think from that point of view, it would be good for us to read it over and maybe send comments for sure.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe you could bring back a comment at our next meeting if you thought it was worthwhile getting even a verbal involvement with it as far as sending an email. Okay, if there is nothing more for today, did you? Has your call come through, Stuart? But if not, if Allison can hold off on the election information, and I think the election is what, the last week of October? Is that?
Correct. October 26th is election day, but I'll
So-
save the rest of the exciting information for next time.
Because I got a bit of time, but I know, or I'm assuming the more you think you can get done up front, the easier it's gonna make it for you. If there's nothing else, our next meeting scheduled for the 27th of May, Wednesday, and if that is sufficient, we'll adjourn today's meeting. Thanks very much for your cooperation.